Hello and welcome to Liberty Nation TV with your host, Jeff Charles. President Joe Biden recently announced a series of sweeping measures ostensibly designed to curb the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant. But many have taken issue with him for issuing an executive order that would require businesses to require their employees to take the jab or do weekly COVID testing. With me to discuss the matter is Liberty Nation's managing editor, Mark Angelides. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Jeff.
Yeah, great to have you here. We're going to get into this. So can you give us kind of an overview of what's going on with this executive order that Biden wants to issue? He hasn't issued it yet, but can you highlight some of the salient points of his announcement last week?
Yes, I think there is a 6-point plan, which for those of us who are keen students of Marxist history know that the 6-point and the 5-point plans are they're a big part of projecting the strength and the forward planning that Marxist governments like to have. And not that I'm saying that this particular one is a Marxist government, I'm just saying that 6-point plans and 5-point plans are the hallmark. So many of them were things that were expected, but I guess, as you point out, the one that is really irking everybody at the moment is that of mandatory vaccines for employers. Now, this is being obviously what they're doing is through the OSHA, which is for your health and safety at work office, and what they're doing is recommending it through that form. So in companies that have more than 100 employees will be obligated to either demand a vaccine, an employee is vaccinated as part of their work contract, or that they submit to weekly or bi-weekly testing. That's yet to be properly determined, I believe. As you point out, this is ostensibly to limit the spread of the latest Delta variant. That's the overall situation, and it's not been well received in many circles.
Gotcha. So, I mean, about 5 seconds after he made this announcement, Republicans threatened to sue. They're going to take legal action against it. Everybody knows that's going to happen. Now, and there is a good chance that this could be defeated. So in your opinion, why would the president push such an intrusive measure if he knows that there's a good chance that it won't stand?
Well, I might be a minority of one here, Jeff, but I think he's been reading Donald Trump's book, The Art of the Deal. And he's been following some of the axioms from that particular tome. Namely, that if you ask for X amount and that figure seems particularly high, you will at least get Y amount, or vice versa. Ask for Y, get X. So what he's doing is he's pushing for as much as humanly possible, on the understanding that he could be and quite likely will be challenged successfully on some areas of his mandate here, but certain areas of it will stand up to constitutional scrutiny, will stand up in the courts, and so he'll be able to get at least part of what he wants rather than getting the whole thing. So I think that's why he took the moonshot, as they say.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective. I haven't heard that one, because I was under the impression that he was just basically doing it because he wants to look like he's trying to do something about the variant, so people won't think that he's not trying to deal with the issue. But now that you say that does sound a little bit more likely.
I have no doubt that part of that is the reason, by the way. Your analysis there is part of the reason. I have no doubts about that. He wants to be seen to be doing something, even if he's not actually doing anything, which is, of course, the art of politics.
Yes, exactly. So speaking of that, how well do you think that art of the deal tactic will work for him in this case? I mean, given the overall debate on the issue of mandates.
Well, what you have to imagine is that a lot of these things are going to be challenged in circuit courts, district courts, things like this. So, and many of those are favorable of his position, as are many people. Let's not pretend that this is going against 100% of the American citizenry. There are many people who back the idea that vaccines should be forcibly mandated, and some would even suggest going beyond what President Biden has suggested. So it will have some success, and it won't. I truly doubt it will be a complete acceptance of what he's asked for, and I think there will be numerous exemptions, which has really come to light in the last day or so, as of time of recording, that the administration is already looking at ways to try and limit people who will be taking advantage of the exemptions, which would be for medical and religious reasons. Now, if it ends up getting into a fight over religious freedoms, now that's an area that even in today's more secular times, I don't think that's a fight that the administration can win.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, in your article, you suggested that it's also possible that he made this announcement when he did because he wants to distract from the snafu going on in Afghanistan that is still ongoing. Do you think it'll work? Do you think that our attention spans are short, but do you think that it's that short?
I hate to say it, but yes, I think it's worked enormously well. As soon as the vaccine mandates came up, all talk of Afghan disappeared under the rug. However, there are two things that are forcing Afghans' resurgence back to the front page of the media, and that's it turns out that, well, it appears so far, based on some serious reporting from places that are nominally pro-Biden, that the retaliation that Joe Biden took, the U.S. military under Joe Biden took against the tragic murders of the 13 U.S. service people. It turns out that they'd actually bombed an NGO worker who worked with the United States who was carrying water. And so that, far from being the fire and fury that Joe Biden promised against our enemies, was actually, it looks like he was responsible indirectly for killing innocent people. And of course, there's recent news that the UN is now saying, shock of horrors, and I don't know if anybody's heard this one yet, so if you haven't, it's breaking news here on LN. The UN are surprised that the Taliban are not keeping their word on protecting women's rights, by which we've seen they're actually flogging women in the streets, and not searching house to house for people who may have US sympathies or have worked with American or allied militaries, which they are now doing, contrary to the assurances we had from the US State Department that the Taliban could be trusted as our, I quote this, partners.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure that's a shocker for a lot of us, right? But
well, everybody not inside the White House, yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So just getting back to the rules that he plans to enact. I had read that a lot of companies were already planning to enact their own vaccine requirements. And that kind of goes back to what you said about a lot of Americans being on board with this, at least done among private businesses. So even if this were to get struck down, do you think it'll even make a difference?
In terms of the companies pushing forward with mandates? I don't think so. I mean, if they're willing to go ahead with it now when it's on very shaky legal ground, that's because they want to go ahead with it. Now, whether they want to go ahead with it because they believe it will protect their workers, that's an entirely debatable point. We don't know their motivations, but there's something to be said for, if you're a company, especially one that relies tangentially perhaps on government dollars to fund your lifestyle and your profits, then being the company that is willing to back good old Joe Biden 100% of the time, that's got to go a long way, especially in the cozy swamp where every deal is a handshake and a wink from a known associate.
Thank you for joining me.
It's really a pleasure. Thanks, Jeff.
And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news and analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Just go to LibertyNation.com on your browser, or hit Rumble, YouTube, or check out our Liberty Nation News Roku channel. I'm Jeff Charles. Thanks for watching. This program is a production of LibertyNation.com, conservative news where truth matters.
Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.